okay? Y'all come on in, y'all come on in. So Diddy got up and said a few words today, honey. I got excited for a minute because I thought that Diddy was about to take the stand in his own defense. I said, Lord, Diddy, please don't do it, okay? It'll be a tragic mistake. So anyway, he seemed like he was so excited just to even be talking. He told the judge, oh, Your Honor, you're doing an excellent job. So anyway, as I told you all earlier, they were talking about Rule 29, okay, the motion for an acquittal. Now, they talked about count 1. They said there was no proof of the racketeering conspiracy indictment, and they referenced the case U.S. versus Kane from the Second Circuit, and this was in 2012. Okay, now, the government, they say, this is what the defense was arguing. They said the government has failed to prove that Mr. Combs agreed to have a criminal enterprise, okay, to conduct the affairs of the Combs enterprise for 20 years from 2004 to 2024. They said the government also failed to prove that there was a distinct pattern of racketeering, okay? And they said also there was no proof that he chose to engage in unlawful acts such as SEX acts under, and they referenced the case Boyle and Turkin, 2 cases, right? Now, in the Boyle case, they said there was the Boyle case was one of those where they had insufficient proof to establish a RICO. They said there was no proof that Mr. Combs conspired with others to have a 20-year racketeering conspiracy. Because here's the thing, let's talk about it. So you know how racketeering, or the RICO Act, was first made for mobsters, okay? So they basically say, you know, when mobsters sit down and start a criminal enterprise, organized crime, they all are in agreement that they're going to be doing illegal activities. They all are in agreement that they're going to be, in fact, engaging in organized crime, and everyone within the organization has a certain role. They have people that are made men whom you can't touch or do anything to unless you have permission from the higher ups. They have people that are, you know, the hit men, and they have all these different roles that each one plays. So this is all something that they get together and conspire to do when they start their criminal enterprise. Now, that being said, the defense's argument was that Diddy never did any of that, and they talked about mens rea. Now, for those of you that have been following me for years, you know that I talked to you about mens rea a myriad of times. Mens rea basically means a guilty mind. It speaks to the intention of the person. So if he didn't sit down and have these people amongst him and say, this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it, they're saying there was no mens rea. Even if criminal activity did transpire, there was no concerted effort to begin an enterprise doing this specifically, okay? So with that all being said, Gia says, why are you so loud? Well, because earlier you all said you couldn't hear. When I was interviewing Megan Coonan, people said they couldn't hear her, okay, and they couldn't hear me. All right, so is that okay? And I'm not really talking that loud. I'm just sitting closer to the phone. Okay, so, hey, I'm making a... So anyway, with that all being said, moderators, do me a favor. If you see anybody trolling, spamming the chat, or saying anything stupid, please just ban them from the channel, okay? And by the way, for anybody that doesn't like what the Queen is saying, you already know what you can do. You don't have to listen, okay? But what we're not going to do is sit here and be ridiculous. All right, so with that all being said, thank you, moderators. Thank you, moderators. Look, they think they be going in, honey. Y'all know how to give a damn what y'all say. You're absolutely irrelevant, but you're still in my chat getting clicks and views for the Queen. So thank you for that, all right? So anyway, thank you, Lana, beloved. I appreciate you. Okay, so now with that all being said, let's talk about it. So they basically were saying that there was no concerted effort to have a RICO enterprise. And they go on to say that Diddy's assistants didn't know much about what happened during the hotel nights. They knew that they would set up things and advance the hotels, bring the lights and the candles and all of that stuff, but they really didn't know what was going on during these so-called freak-offs or hotel nights or Wild King nights. They said David James said that once he did see a naked man in the hotel room, and he said that it was really none of his business as far as he was concerned, and he quite frankly thought that it was just some personal affair and he didn't want to get involved in it. He really didn't know what it was all about and didn't ask or entertain it. Now, that being said, there was another time when Diddy told Jane, saying that I can't let KK know about the freak-offs. So they're saying that KK didn't even really know about the freak-offs. Now, I don't know whether she did or not, but I'm just telling you what the defense is arguing. Okay, basically saying that these people didn't get together and there was no mens rea. So also, said that I can't have, another time in a text, Diddy said, I can't have James in my house. And I guess he was talking about David James, the former assistant, who also testified. Now they say the staff never helped Mr. Combs with Cassie. Okay, they said they helped Cassie, in fact, not Diddy. They said when there was something going on between Diddy and Cassie, they didn't help Diddy. They more so gravitated towards helping Cassie. Okay, and they said that they helped Cassie because they felt, hold on, because Cassie felt safe with them, basically is what they said. And then they talked about D-Rock and KK. Now there were a series of texts between KK and Cassie, but however, there was no evidence that violence was used to cover up or coerce Cassie into doing these things, and there was no proof that other people were involved in a cover-up, is what they're saying. They say Mr. Combs lied to Cassie after KK came in, or they said Mr. Combs lied to Cassie after KK came in. Okay, I guess when they were having something going on or whatever, pertaining to a freak-off. And then they also said that KK couldn't have been involved after they had already been having, you know, this business, after they had already been having this business started, the company that is, for 12 years. Okay, because they started the company in 2004, and basically saying that KK didn't come in until 12 years after that. So how could she have been a part of saying that she wanted to be party to a criminal enterprise? How did she sit down and conspire with them is basically what they're saying. And so they're basically just saying that they didn't prove the elements that they need to prove a RICO conspiracy. Now also they brought up the forced labor. They said the proof and the evidence that they have for the forced labor is insufficient. And they said that, you know, basically they referenced a case called the Mujera case, where there was a Chinese person, a Chinese man who basically was accused of running an enterprise where he had, you know, he was using forced labor on people that were working for him. Now they said these people tend to live in squalor, okay, and what I know from research is that they usually are forced to work under very hazardous conditions and they don't ever even get paid. Now mind you, Capricorn Clark said that she worked for days at a time and that she was never paid for her overtime. The $80,000 that she says Diddy owed her for overtime. They said even if that's true, that does not warrant forced labor. That doesn't bring the proof of forced labor. So they said that also has not been proven. Now, with that all being said, let me move down here because we have some other people talking. Hold on, I'm gonna slide down just a little bit. Now, and y'all wonder why I'm talking loud because I'm trying to talk over people and the noise in the background. Okay, so anyway, they go on to say, and they also talked about how Capricorn Clark, in fact, said that she would come back and work for Diddy because she missed her lifestyle. So they're basically saying if this woman was kidnapped, if she was forced into working for free, i.e. forced labor, why would she have been so willing to come back and work for Diddy? Okay, that's one of the things they brought up. They said that's not proven. Okay? And then they also went on to say that Capricorn Clark, Cassie, Jane, and Mia, all of them, you know, the forced labor that they're trying to say that all of them were privy to, that's not substantiated. They said Capricorn Clark was accused of stealing jewelry and says that she worked and stayed because it would have been just written off as theft regardless. So that was her motivation for staying basically, and also she needed the money and wanted to keep up her lifestyle. They said none of this is enough to prove forced labor, and she actually feared losing her job. Okay, so they said if she feared losing her job, that just proves that she was not forced to stay. See, when you're working in forced labor, the people don't let you leave. They make you work for free. They give you very little or no money at all. You work in hazardous conditions and you can't leave, okay? You're trapped there as though you've been abducted. And so they were saying that she feared losing her job. So how does that equate to forced labor? Now, then they talked about, they said she was able to leave whenever she wanted to. They said the alleged wrongful termination when she was fired for taking a vacation, that further proves that it was not forced. And they said even after that, she got a job with 50 Cent. Okay, and then she claims verbal and physical abuse. Yet she could have quit at any time that she wanted to, but she never did. Okay, and they also say that then she got her dream job at Revolt Films. Okay, then Mr. Combs didn't want to be involved in her films anymore. And that's basically when they feel like she was disgruntled. They said she also has worked for Madonna, so she wasn't blackballed or blacklisted or any of those things. Now they said evidence is insufficient to the sex trafficking as well as the forced labor, as well as the kidnapping, and 2 of 3 allegations, there's just no foundation for them or no basis, and there was no evidence to prove it. Now, they say the first incident where Capricorn Clark said that she was transported to a building in Manhattan, they basically said, you know when she said that she was kidnapped and taken to that building? Hold on, you guys. Okay, they said when she was first claiming that she was kidnapped and taken to the building after they claimed that she in fact stole the jewelry, they said at any time she could have done something about that, like filed a police report or whatever, and they just said that's not proof of kidnapping. Okay, also, they said there was no reasonable fear. Hold on. Under California law, there are certain elements that you have to prove, and that would be use of force, reasonable fear, and the person didn't consent. And they said those things were not present, and so it doesn't show proof or evidence, and that's not substantiated. So they're calling Rule 29 on that as well. Okay? And they also talk about how she preferred staying at Diddy's house. Now, why would you want to stay at the man's house if you fear him and he's had you kidnapped and all these other things, is what the defense is saying. They say there's no evidence of arson. Now, for those of you who tuned into the broadcast last night, I want you to pay attention, because aren't these the same things that I told you last night? Aren't these just some of the same things that I absolutely said last night? They said there's no proof of arson. There's just no proof, but there's only speculation. Okay, and the speculation was from Kid Cudi. On count 2, they again said there's no mens rea, which again is a guilty mind, which means it was premeditated, planned, or thought out, and everybody sat down and came into agreement, and it's all about the intentions. They said that was not met. And then they say the prosecution basically tried to imply that these women did the freak-offs, the hotel nights and the Wild King nights, to make Diddy happy, okay? Saying that they didn't engage in sexual activity that wasn't consensual. They're saying that it was consensual. That's what the defense is saying. Now, they said Jane Doe loved Diddy, Mr. Combs, and had the hotel nights due to her love for him. Okay, and also because they had a love contract. Now, isn't this what I told you all last night? I'm sorry, doesn't this all sound so familiar? I told you all that when she had that love contract, Diddy basically told her, listen, you're going to be my woman. You're going to do what I want you to do, and I'm going to do what you want me to do, which means we're going to sign this agreement, and you're going to have the hotel nights, and then I'm going to give you the money that you want for doing these things. Okay? She literally signed the contract. So they're saying, how was that forced fraud or coercion? Okay, please pay attention. I told y'all this last night when I went over that verdict list. Okay? It's the verdict sheet. Now, they also went on to say that basically Jane Doe was upset about dinners that he didn't take her out on, other women that he was dealing with, and the fact that she felt he wasn't spending quality time, that he didn't take her to Turks and Caicos, he wouldn't take her on other trips, and said that the government basically called it fraud and force and coercion, but that's never what it was. It was all about someone not getting what they wanted out of their relationship. Okay? So with that all been said, what got me is when Diddy stood up, and I thought Diddy was about to say he's going to take the stand because he was looking so excited and he was so anxious, and he stood up and the judge asked him, are you in your right frame of mind? Has anyone pressured you or asked you to do something you don't want to do or whatever? And Diddy said, no, Your Honor. And he said, by the way, thank you, Your Honor. You're doing a great job. That's what he told the judge. Now, when they asked him, did he want to speak in his own behalf or get up there and testify, and it doesn't matter what his attorney said, it's all entirely up to him, he did say no. which was a good idea because if he'd gotten up there, I'm quite sure Marine Comey would have eaten him alive, okay? She'd have had him for lunch, breakfast, okay, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So then they brought up how Cassie had the hotel room decorated for Valentine's Day, and they showed us the pictures. Hey, the lounge, thank you, beloved, says best report at the Diddy trial. Thank you so much, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, they brought up some pictures where Cassie and Diddy were at a hotel on Valentine's Day, and the hotel room was all decorated. There were roses on the bed. There were flowers and everything. And she wrote him a very lengthy text telling him how much she loved him, how she was so proud of him, and how even though he sometimes probably feels that he doesn't know her, but that's because they're both growing and changing. And she talked about how she loved him more than anybody or anything in the world, okay? And she said that he was basically the love of her life. Now, it was so much that she said, okay? And then she said, I miss you so much. And Diddy said, so what we gonna do? This is another text where she says, I miss you so much. Diddy said, so what you gonna do? And she says, be your little freak. She says, I just bought some baby oil at the store because I just couldn't help myself. Now, mind you, they were using all of this to prove that the defense, that the prosecution hasn't proven their point because Cassie, they're saying, was complicit in a lot of this. She said, I'm so proud of you, and I know you feel you don't know everything about me because we're both growing. This is what Cassie said. The beautiful man that I'm in love with, the only one, I'm so in love with you, Cece. She signed it Cece. And then there was another one where she said, I love you and I'm in love with you and I want to be happy. I want you to be happy too. Now then, in 2000, or there was a text from December 18th of 2023, where a woman, where Daniel Phillip met with the feds, right? Actually, this wasn't text, I'm sorry. This is where Daniel Phillip, one of the former, I think he was one of the assistants, or perhaps, or one of the S workers. Nonetheless, he met with the feds and he told them that he got this call, and this caller was Cassie. He said the woman said that her husband and her wanted to have like a little freaky thing going, and that she said she wanted to be rubbed down in oil by another man, okay? Now they were using this to basically prove that Cassie was down with the stuff. Then October the 7th of 2024, Diddy would tell Daniel to go, this is what Daniel told the feds, that sometimes he'd be interacting with Cassie doing the freak-offs, and Diddy would tell him to go sit down, it's my turn now. And then Phillips would get jealous because he actually had started having feelings for Cassie. Hold on, let the sirens, let this ambulance pass by. Hold on, you guys. Okay, so now October the 7th of 2024, they showed where Daniel again had spoken with the feds. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that one already. That's where he would tell, he said Diddy would tell him to go sit down, it's his turn, and then he would get jealous because he had feelings for Cassie. Now then they talked about Don Richard's testimony, where March the 18th of 2025, also October the 31st of 2024, March the 18th of 2025, and just several dates basically when she spoke with the feds, she basically never said anything about Diddy threatening that where he comes from, if you run your mouth, you might come up missing. They said out of all the times she spoke to the feds, she never said anything about that. She did tell the story about the eggs, which the story changed multiple times. Then they brought up Capricorn Clark. She met with the feds multiple times, and they said that her testimony, the notes that were taken, not her testimony, but her statements, the notes that were taken when she was speaking with the feds, there was nothing in there about her being outside of Kid Cudi's house and calling Lauren London. And then they talked about Mia. She had 31 meetings with the feds, and at no time did she ever say anything, or did she ever mention there be any sex involved, okay? Said there was never any mention of anything sexual involved. So with that all being said, listen, they're going to have the prosecution and the defense in tomorrow to give their arguments and whatnot. The jury has been given the day off. They're not going to be here. I'll likely come tomorrow. I hadn't planned on it at first because I thought everybody was going to be out of court, but they said we can come. The jury is just not going to be privy to it. They've given them the day off. They're going to have more arguments and talk more about, and the judge, I don't know when the judge is exactly going to make his ruling on the Rule 29 for the acquittal. I don't know when he's going to do that, but it's getting down to the wire like I told you guys. And at the end of the day, it's really looking like the feds have not proven their case. The defense has brought up a myriad of things that they did not prove. But again, like I told you, for those of you who missed the broadcast last night where I showed the verdict sheet, go back and look at that broadcast, okay? Because it looks like they're saying some of the very same things that I said. And I know some of y'all are mad and all of that. And I also know the Hood Riller. Is the Hood Riller in here? Because he left me a comment. Now, the Hood Riller, I love you and all. But the Hood Riller left me a comment saying that I had switched up. Okay, saying that I had switched up. And now I'm acting like I'm on Team Diddy. Is Diddy paying me or whatever? Here's the thing. This is not what I'm saying. This is what the defense is saying. This is what the evidence has shown. And from the evidence, it just doesn't look like they have proven their case. They have proven some things like I told you last night. The bribery, I absolutely believe it, okay? The coercion, or I'm sorry, the extortion, but the extortion wasn't on the verdict list. That wasn't on there. The kidnapping hasn't been proven. The arson hasn't been proven. Okay, the trafficking hasn't been proven. Okay, because remember, Jane Doe was doing all kinds of stuff, and then they basically said that she did other freak-offs without Diddy. They also said that they were, she was sleeping with some of these S-workers behind Diddy's back. Okay, so that was not proven. Okay, there are a myriad of things that have not been proven, and just a few things that seem to have been proven. With that all being said, listen, James, can you do me a favor, beloved? Can you come over and give your 2 cents? Yes, I do want you to give your 2 cents. I'm going to have James come over here so you all can hear what James has to say. I'm just ready for this whole thing to be over. Hopefully they'll start deliberating by Monday, and then we'll have it all done.
Ooh, child. Okay, my 2 cents is that we need to be paying attention. Hey, y'all. How y'all doing? I hope blessed and highly favored. Oh, look at all these people on the live. I'm so glad y'all came here to support the queen. Isn't she beautiful? She's everything, and everything is her. Okay, y'all, but look, my 2 cents is this, simply, that race is still a contributing factor, very much so, in this case. And listen, y'all, we've got to pay attention to the facts. And the facts are that jury selection is going to be very prevalent in this case. And I think that we're going to see that regardless of what the verdict is. I think we're also going to see that in the sentencing. And I think that the Judge Aaron Subramanian, is going to be an integral part in how Sean Combs is going to get sentenced if the verdict is guilty on either of the counts that Sean Combs is being charged with. And I think that that's very, very important. So, obviously, time will tell. Now, according to the way the court is, things are going to, the jury is going to be hopefully voting on Monday. So, we will see how things go, and we'll see what's going on. So, hopefully we'll see what's going on, and you all will stay tuned. FYI, y'all, I love that you're supporting the queen. She's everything. She's one of the most brilliant people I know. Please continue to support her. And as always, please follow me as well. I'm trying to monetize my own page. Follow me on Instagram and all social media platforms at James R. Sanders. And follow me on my own YouTube page at James R. Sanders, JamesRSanders. Thank you so much for allowing me to come on, Queen.
You're welcome. All right, now you all follow James. Okay, so James can get his channel monetized. He works hard. All right, he works very hard. Now, with that all being said, and also, there's an interview that I did for Essence with James, and that's going to be out probably tomorrow. Okay, so I'll drop the link so you all can check that out. Now, with that all being said, listen, come here, beloved. You want to get on my live? What happened to your voice? Okay, we're going to talk about it. Okay, so she's lost her voice, honey. I'm about to lose mine, too. Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, Queen, I truly respect your... Hold on, and I can't see everything, y'all. I don't have my glasses on. I just don't know why you feel that bribery charge should result in a life. Honey, first of all, who said that? Beloved, I don't think a bribery charge should result in a life sentence. I never said that. I never said that. I said I think they proved the bribery. I didn't say that it should result in a life sentence. Okay? That's not what I said. And also, I told you all last night, so you didn't watch the broadcast last night. Because I told you all I think Diddy may be guilty of some things, but I don't see Diddy getting a life sentence. He should not be getting a life sentence for the things that they have proven. That's what I said. Okay? Queen, you is one of the most busiest, you're one of the most busiest cities in the nation. You can't get away. Thank you, beloved. I tried. Listen, I'm just trying to do what I can do, okay, to bring you all the news and the updates and to get the story and the facts out here because we have a whole lot of lying going on. We have people painting narratives and out here saying things that absolutely are not true, okay? I just want you all to pay attention. Always pay attention to journalistic integrity and those who have it and those who don't, okay? Because a lot of people out here lying to y'all because they know y'all are not here to see what's going on for yourselves, and so they just paint narratives and say whatever, thinking that y'all are not going to find out the truth, okay? And that's just a fact. Okay, so anyway, James Field says, pardon Diddy, Trump. Okay, the lounge says, so true, Queen. Thank you, beloved. You already know how it is, okay? Skeletor fan said, are you in Manhattan? Yes. Yes, I am. When I leave here, I'll be in Manhattan. Okay, the lounge said, Queen Q to the 100. Thank you. So listen, I love you all. Listen, I'm going to be back here tomorrow. Like I said, the jury won't be here. There's going to be some arguments going on that the jury is not going to be privy to. Okay, then they're going to have the closing arguments. I believe they're going to start on Monday. And the thing is, the closing arguments, I'm sorry, not Monday. The closing arguments are going to start on Thursday. Okay, we'll be here Thursday and Friday till 5 o'clock. And the reason being is that Maureen Comey said that the closing arguments are going to be lengthy. Now, remember I told you guys how Teeny Garrigo said that there'll be a minimum of 4 hours apiece. So this is going to be real lengthy. And I don't want to miss any of that because, you know, closing arguments can get very dramatic. Okay, that's when they're going to be pulling out everything they can to make sure their team wins. Both sides are going to be doing this. So I'm definitely going to be here for this. But the jury is likely going to start deliberating on Monday. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it looks like I'm going to have to change my flight home. Because I was planning on leaving here July the 2nd. But it looks like I'm going to be here a little bit longer. I don't think the verdict is going to come in until after July the 4th. Okay? So I guess I'll be seeing you guys a little bit later than anticipated. All right? So anyway, with that all being said, like and share the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. And listen, for those of you who want to troll or who don't like what the Queen is saying, please stop following my damn channel. Just go somewhere else, okay? Nobody asked you to be here. Nobody sent for you, okay? Nobody did. If you think insults is going to faze me, it isn't, because I don't give a damn what irrelevant arse people that I don't even know say about me. All right? And if you had any sense, you would know that. Clearly, it must be your first time to the channel, is all I'm saying, okay? He should have never, ever messed with the Bieber. Well, you know, according to Bieber, nothing happened, okay? So, that's right, I said exactly, they are rude. How do you know it's always going to be haters? Funny thing is, people be talking trash, but they be right here on my live. So what does that tell you, okay? That's all I'm saying. So anyway, beloveds, like I said, I'm about to conclude the broadcast. I love you all to life. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always, beloveds, keep the Most High first in your lives. I will see you all tomorrow where I will be filming live from the courthouse again, bringing you the latest updates and information with nothing but the truth and the facts mixed with a little bit of my opinion, but it won't be any lies. James, let me ask you a question. What about the lies?
See you later, girl.
All right, see you, boo. Thank you. James, what about the lies? Now, we don't have to call no names. Come over here and tell them about lies. That's all I'm saying. Just let them know that some people be telling lies. You don't have to tell them who's telling the lies, because they can figure that out themselves. But just tell them how people be out here telling lies.
They all lie, child. And if you lie, you'll steal. And if you steal, I'll kill.
Okay, so y'all heard it here first. Okay, hashtag you heard it here first. That's right, that's my damn catchphrase. Y'all know it. Okay, you heard it here first. Please pay attention. Okay, we got people out here telling lies, y'all. Talking about they seen stuff they know damn well they ain't seen. They almost did stuff they know damn well they didn't almost do. Okay, painting a whole lot of narratives is all I'm saying. The clout chase is real, okay? But y'all know on this channel, we keep it 100, right? We keep it 100, not 100. But anyway, with that all been said, y'all know I love y'all to life, okay? And I will talk to y'all again soon. Peace.